Why you should play fighting games.
Destruction. Our destiny is my connection now. A feeling in my soul. It's beyond the reach of most mere mortals. Take a stand. So remember, no surrender. Mighty finding moment. I will stand up, overcome my past. This is different to the end. If it takes forever, no surrender. Now or never, my last stand.
So why am I making this video? Well, I want to get as many people into fighting games as possible because I truly believe that these are the greatest games out there. I want to be able to see as many people as possible be able to pick up a controller and play these games competently instead of just button mashing, which is fine if you have fun doing that. As long as you're having fun, who cares? But I want to see people push past that initial step so that they can truly see the reason why me and so many other people are so captivated by these fighting games. So let me show you some examples of why playing fighting games with your friends is one of the most fun things you can do. Oh my god, those slow, those fuck you, bro. What's the correct way? Help! Help! I can't think while I'm getting my feet! Those slow lows are just beating the shit out of me, and there's no. Oh, let's go. Oh, it was still active. Oh.
What the? What the was that?
I don't know. Oh, no. I'm not attached to you. You're attached to me. Ah! Shut up. So now let's talk about the big three of fighting games that I call the brain of fighting games, the body of fighting games, and of course, the soul of fighting games. So let's start with the brain of fighting games, which to me would be the gameplay. And when it comes to gameplay, I like to break it down into four main pillars. The first pillar being mind games, the second pillar being combos, the third pillar being punishment, and the fourth pillar being reward. Each of these pillars contributes to what makes the gameplay of a fighting game so fun. So let's go over them one by one. Starting with mind games. If we break down mind games, I think we can break it down into 2 or 3 different categories. One being movement, another being pressure, and another possibly being repetition. Now, repetition can be used in both movement and pressure, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to make it its own category. Now, I'm not going to go super in-depth with these, because I don't want this video to be a tutorial on how to play fighting games. I want to keep it strictly to why you should be trying to learn fighting games. So starting with movement, movement's one of those factors in a fighting game that's really going to define how the fighting game is going to feel when you're piloting your character. And that feeling is going to change drastically depending on the game you're playing and the character you're playing. Depending on whether you're playing an anime fighter or a non-anime fighter, a 3D fighter or a 2D fighter, each game is going to feel very different. So you may be thinking, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The 3D fighters are going to have a lot more movement options because of the third dimension, while 2D fighters are only going to limit you to left, right, and up. But this isn't the case. In fact, usually the 2D fighters are the ones that have a lot more movement options. You see, 3D fighters usually have backdash, forward run, and sidestepping and side walking usually. And while they do have jumping, it's usually not that prevalent. Whereas in 2D fighters, you usually have a lot of the same options such as forward walking and back walking, forward dashing and back dashing, but you don't have access to sidestepping and side walking. And of course you can jump in these games also, and it's usually a lot more prevalent than in 3D fighters. But depending on the 2D fighter you're playing, you could have access to a lot more options such as air dashing, instant air dashing, short hops, super jumps, and various other means of movement. So whatever movement options you have access to in the game you choose to play, you're going to want to fine-tune and hone it to the best of your abilities as quickly as possible, because it really defines how you're going to be playing that game. And let's not forget that movement isn't just a way to get across the screen, it's also a way to get away from your opponent, get closer to your opponent to apply pressure, and various other uses. And what makes movement so fun in these games is the various ways you can use your skills that you've honed to outplay your opponent, such as jumping and doing nothing to make them do an anti-air just to block it and punish them, from jumping behind them and hitting them in the back because they didn't switch their guard fast enough, from only having 2 seconds on the clock and doing a quick backdash or air dash backwards to make the time run out so you win on a timeout. Or you can even dash in front of them over and over again without pressing any buttons to make them press a button, or just to assert your dominance. So as you can see, there are various ways to use movement to accomplish many things. And once you learn that movement, it'll make the game feel a lot less clunky, and you'll start to move better and flow better with everything you do inside of the fighting game you choose to play. So now that we've talked about movement, let's move over to the next building block of the mind games pillar, pressure. It's something I'm sure we've all experienced in our lives, whether we've played fighting games or not. Another word for it could be stress. So how do we transfer the meaning of stress and pressure into a fighting game? Well, the act of trying to pressure your opponent is the act of trying to stress your opponent out. The more stressed they feel, the more hasty and reckless their actions will be, whether that be pressing buttons, trying to jump out of the situation, standing there and blocking, or just rage quitting altogether. But Draven, I'm sure you're asking, how do I pressure my opponent? Well, there's multiple ways to pressure an opponent, some of which involve doing nothing at all. Like we've talked about with movement, just the simple act of moving towards your opponent can apply pressure to them, or even backing away from them can still apply stress to them. For instance, if you were playing a grappler and you're walking towards your opponent knows that if you get close enough, you can grab them for half their life, so they're going to want to try and stop you from getting in. And in that same vein, if you're a zoner and you start backing away from your opponent's going to start to think, oh no, if I let them get too far away, they're going to start throwing projectiles at me, and I won't be able to close the distance and win the match. And of course, my favorite type of pressure is getting in the opponent's face and using a big plus frames move to make them think, oh, I can press a button now, and then when they press a button, I get to act first and get a counter hit. Now, pressuring your opponent is one of the most fun things you can do in a fighting game, whether that be walking towards them hoping to grab them, using a big plus frame move in their face, or backing up and throwing projectiles. The way you choose to pressure is up to you, but you might be thinking, Draven, but that sounds really fun, but if I'm the one getting pressured, it sounds very unfun, and that's completely true, and by design. Of course, losing in any video game is not going to feel fun. Everybody wants to win and nobody wants to lose. That's just human nature. And of course, in a fighting game, those losses are going to hit a lot harder because unlike a team game, you can't blame your teammates or other factors. It's just you and your skills against the opponents. And this is one of the things that I can't give you a surefire way to make it so you don't rage or get sad when you lose. After all, I'm not immune to these emotions either. When I lose, I feel both of them sometimes. But it's important to understand that each loss is a learning opportunity. There's always a reason you lost, or maybe you just lost to a lucky guess, which happens sometimes. It's just the way of the game. And you can always learn from these losses, especially with modern day fighting games and new tools added to them. such as Replay Takeover and replays in general, you can go back and watch your replays, take control of your character, and figure out how to get out of your opponent's setups and punish moves that they've been hitting you with. It's a hard thing to learn how to deal with, especially when it feels like every match you're just getting your butt kicked. But I promise you, if you put time in training mode and watch your replays and maybe ask other players for advice, this burden will feel less and less heavy. I can't tell you how many times I've personally got my butt kicked by a certain character or a certain setup just to go into practice mode or watch a replay and use the takeover method, just to find 2 or 3 ways that I could have gotten out of it and won the match. And of course, if you're struggling with raging or getting sad while losing or playing the game at all, remember, just like any other game, you can always take a break and go play something else, and then you can always come back and play again later. While I have repetition in its own category for the purposes of this video, it's really more of a combined thing with the other 2 categories, as repetition simply means doing the same thing enough times to make your opponent think you're going to do it again, or seeing how many times your opponent has done something and either expecting them to do it again, or, if you have the right read, expecting them to switch it up. You see, there's a lot of ways to use repetition in movement and also pressure, and a lot of them go hand in hand like we talked about with forward dashing. But you could also use the idea of spamming the same move over and over again as a form of repetition to apply pressure, such as a long hitting move like a fireball or a low hitting move that will hit them while they're stand blocking. And so you see, repetition is really important when it comes to making your gameplay unpredictable and also being able to tell when an opponent is being predictable. But that's not to say that doing the same thing multiple times in a row is a bad thing. In fact, if your opponent is going to expect you to switch it up, why not do it again? So now let's talk about combos. And I'm going to be honest with you, combos are probably my favorite part of the gameplay of a fighting game. I love going into practice mode and spending hours learning the hardest and coolest combos that I can. To me, practicing combos changes the game from a 1v1 competitive game into a single-player rhythm game, similar to Guitar Hero, as I see the timing of move into move as the timing of pressing a button to hit the keys in Guitar Hero, which I really enjoy as a breakup from the stress of fighting another player. When I say doing combos is my favorite part of gameplay, I mean it, because most of my time spent in fighting games is usually practicing combos. I even go into games that I have no intention of ever playing against another person, just to learn combos for cool characters or to do combos that look fun to do. And who knows, maybe I'll have something fun to bust out and show my friends on any given fighting game. But I know a lot of you probably see these big long combos and it immediately makes you think twice about learning these games. Maybe because it looks hard, or maybe because it looks like it'll take too much time to learn. But I want to make this very clear and assure you that combos can be super difficult sometimes. But just like learning to walk or ride a bike, or learning anything really, once you take those first steps, the rest will come. And usually the really hard combos are not the ones you should learn, but usually there are easier combos that are more reliable and preferred in real matches. But if you end up becoming a combo junkie, then I guess I did my job. And I swear to you that learning combos takes very little time investment. Just hop into practice mode for 10 to 15 minutes and maybe look up a tutorial or a combo video or 2, and in no time you'll be doing combos just like the rest of us. Then it's all about getting comfortable doing them in real matches, which does take time, but I promise you it'll come quicker than you think. Each fighting game will also have different combo structures. Some will have longer combos, some fighting games will have shorter combos. So if you prefer a certain style, don't be afraid to look around till you find something that speaks to you. And if you are not sure where to learn combos, well, let me give you some ideas. First, you can simply search for a combo video on YouTube, or maybe a character tutorial will work also. Most fighting games also will have sample combos or combo trials inside of the game where you can learn combos, though usually they vary in how optimal they are. But hey, they'll get you started. So now I want to talk to you about punishment, which is a defensive term used to describe punishing an opponent for doing something. So let's say your opponent throws out a big move and you block it. If that move is punishable, it means that you can now attack and deal guaranteed damage as long as that move you do is fast enough to hit the opponent before they recover and block it. But you can also punish moves that you don't block. Like if your opponent attacks you with that same move but you are too far away and it misses, and you're able to hit them with an attack, that is known as a whiff punish. Or another way of saying it is you punish the other player for missing you with their attack. You can also punish someone for moving, as in your opponent runs at you or jumps at you and are unable to block as they do so, or decides not to block, and you punish them with the appropriate attack. That is also a punish. How do you know what is punishable? Well, you can simply try attacking with fast-moving attacks after blocking an attack, or most modern fighting games will have what we call frame data built in. This is where in training mode you can see how many frames are in a move and how many frames it takes someone to recover and block. So you can say, oh, this attack takes 13 frames to recover after I block it. So if I do this move that has 13 frames of startup, it's guaranteed to hit and deal damage. And of course, you can always look up punishment tutorials for characters on YouTube, or watch other players and see what they punish. So now let's talk about reward. Reward is what you receive for getting better at the other 3 topics of gameplay, such as with movement. Your reward for getting your movement down is now you can close the distance and create space much easier, as well as dodge any incoming attacks that your opponent may throw at you. Your reward for getting your combos down is now whenever a combo opportunity arises, you're able to do as much damage as possible, or do whatever combo suits the situation best. And of course, your reward for getting your punishment down is that whenever somebody does a punishable move to you and you block it, you're able to punish accordingly. Or if they whiff something in front of your face, you're ready to make them pay for that mistake. Now let's talk about the body of a fighting game, which for me personally would be the characters and story. This is one of my favorite topics when it comes to fighting games, because each game has a wide and diverse cast of characters and ways to tell their stories. Some games have large rosters of characters and some games have small rosters, but no matter the size of the cast, there is always awesome and unique characters for you to enjoy or hate. And on that same note, some games will have elaborate cinematic stories with lots of cutscenes and dialogue, and some games will have short character endings at the end of arcade mode with some text scrolling over a picture. And some even have both of those, and some may not have either. But no matter which game you choose to play and what kind of story you like, there's always a fun and unique story. Even the games that don't have any perceivable story are still fun to play also. There are so many characters that I love in fighting games. Some have more story than others, but whether the reason I like them is their story, their gameplay, or just because they look cool, my love for these characters is massive. From Terry Bogard, the kind-hearted, fighting-obsessed, hungry wolf who lost his father to the evil gangster known as Geese Howard, to Jin Kazama, who is in an eternal fight to the death with his dad and sometimes his grandpa, and has also decided to plunge the Earth into World War to draw out the devil hiding inside of it. Don't worry, we're gonna gloss that over in the next game. To Ragna the Blood Edge, yes, that's his name, and his story of losing his sister in a fire and then having his brother constantly try and kill him whenever he sees him, to also being followed by a girl who looks suspiciously like his sister, and of course, just generally being attacked by everyone else, and many other awesome and unique characters that I know you'll love. I mean, we have everything from real-life DJs to animals, to even amorphous blobs that summon insects to fight. We've got cat girls who only want to eat food but will fight if they have to. Oh, and let me just say that fighting games are also one of the most progressive and inclusive genres of games that I've ever played. Because yeah, we've got the big muscle men that love to fight that you'd expect, but we also have androgynous men who love beauty and help orphan children. And we even have men that were magically turned into women and realize that's who they've always been and who they want to be going forward and accepts it. Did I mention the knight with the sword the length of a school bus, or the smoothest criminal I've ever seen in a form of media? Because yeah, that's cool as hell. And did I mention that most of those characters were all from the same game? Yeah, BlazBlue's awesome. Definitely give it a try if you have time. So as you can see, each fighting game is going to have lots of unique and interesting characters with their own motives and reasons to fight. And each game will usually have lots of lore and interesting stories for you to sink your teeth into. And I'm sure after no time at all, you will develop your own favorite characters and your favorite facts for them. So let's talk about the soul of fighting games, which of course can be only one thing: community.
This is gonna be big damage. It's gonna be okay.
I'm getting a heart attack. He's got full meter. He's gonna touch. Oh! Oh, he accept Hadouken. So brave. Let's go. Come, you Hadouken. Come in me. What? Oh, I mean, come to me.
Oh my God! Hold it! Hey, how did you do that? Oh, he's still safe. He's trying to fill up.
Second. Oh my God! Rainbow for the 7 seconds. 5 seconds. He blocked the ring back. It's not over. Arthur's gonna back that ring line. We got him. Oh my God! That is the great. We got my God!
So as you can see, community is so ingrained with fighting games that it's really hard to talk about these games without also talking about community. And I know I've said this is one of my favorite parts of fighting games a lot in this video already, but my absolute hands down favorite part of fighting games, without a doubt, is community. The FGC or fighting game community is unlike any other gaming community. It is one of the most friendly and motivating communities I've ever been a part of. There are so many people in the FGC who will take time out of their days just to help other people like you learn these silly punchy games that we all love so much. And you may think, yeah, these people probably will just beat me up over and over again and call it teaching. And some may do that, but trust me, if you look for even a minute, you'll find someone who can teach you the right way. And remember, we all started from exactly where you are now. And there are so many ways to participate and be a part of this community that extends even past playing the games. Even if you just watch tournaments or certain players, or just like to watch videos on fighting games such as lore for the characters or gameplay videos, you can consider yourself as part of the FGC, at least in my opinion. Now let me try to describe my experience in the FGC. I've always grown up playing fighting games. When I was little, I would play Mortal Kombat, Tekken, and any other fighting game I could find. I even played Star Wars Revenge of the Sith on original Xbox. Yeah, that game had a fighting game mode if you didn't know. And I never learned how to do anything outside of button mashing, or spamming that one special move that I accidentally figured out, but having my family and my friends over to button mash on these games was always such a blast. I even used to have tournaments at my dad's house where I would invite all of the neighborhood kids, some of which I didn't even know, my friends and my family, over and see who would be crowned champion. There was no prize for winning except the title of champion and the feeling of accomplishment, but I still hadn't actually dove into learning fighting games seriously at this point. So at some point in high school, I got into watching Maximilian Dood, because my friend Ricky, aka 11th Prince, who you saw in the clips earlier, wanted to show me this streamer who was playing all these old games we used to love growing up. And while watching, we both looked at each other and said, hey, we should try and learn fighting games, you know, like these guys did. Like actually learn them, to where we can say that we're both really good at them. And so that's what we did. We didn't stop playing until we could say that we were good at these games. But there was a problem. What game should we play? I mean, this was around 2013 to 2014-ish, so our options weren't as varied as they are these days. I mean, this was right around the time when fighting games were just starting to make their comeback. So we started with Soul Calibur 5, not really knowing what we were doing, but we eventually decided to button mash on a few other games till we could find one that we really wanted to learn. We tried Street Fighter 4 Ultimate, but it wasn't for us. And eventually I remembered a game that my stepbrother and his friend used to talk about on Xbox Live. It was a game called BlazBlue. And I remembered I had bought BlazBlue Continuum Shift on the original DS a while ago, and I really loved the characters and art style, so I told Ricky, who was really into anime at the time, so we decided to buy Chrono Phantasm on Steam. Not too long after, we were playing week after week. I quickly bought an arcade stick because I thought it looked fun to play on, and eventually when I got a new one, I gave Ricky my old Hori stick, and we never looked back. Now neither of us can play on regular controllers, which I find really funny. And eventually we got a few of our other friends to play it, and all of them to this day still really love the game, even if they don't play it consistently. Especially when the new game in the series, BlazBlue Central Fiction, came out, which is still to this day my favorite fighting game ever made. Me and my friends used to play that pretty regularly, even my friends who aren't into fighting games competitively. And skipping ahead a little bit, I eventually got into Injustice 2, and I was really enjoying the game. It had lots of content and characters that I love. And say what you will about the game, but when you're not just standing in the corner zoning, I think the game can be incredibly fun. I mean, it's got great characters and some of the most content I've ever seen in a fighting game. But defensive Injustice 2 aside, while I was getting into that game and really loving it, Ricky had just gotten a game called Tekken 7. Now, Tekken is a franchise that we had both played growing up and really loved, but with Tekken 7's release, I had mostly ignored it. Now, this was due to the fact that at the time, 3D fighters seemed kind of dead. I mean, there was no new Virtual Fighter or DOA in a while, and Mortal Kombat had just switched back to 2D. But eventually, after Ricky had showed me some streamers playing the game, as well as some gameplay, I decided to get it. I mean, after all, I had really enjoyed Tekken 4 back on the PlayStation 2. And Tekken 7 is where me and Ricky really took off with our progression and being good at fighting games. I mean, we used to spend hours together watching tutorial videos, tips and tricks videos, gameplay videos, anything we could to get better at the game. I mean, to this day, I've clocked in over 2,000 hours on the game, and Ricky has well over 3K. That's how much we loved this game. And we used to hold open lobbies where random people would join and play with us, and we would talk and get advice from these players, and give out advice when we could. We met a lot of people in the community this way, and eventually we started joining online tournaments and talking with people in the stream chats and in-game chats, and everyone was usually so nice and encouraging, teaching us how to beat things that we didn't know how to beat, teaching us the frame data of certain moves, and we would also do the same for people that weren't as good as us. Sure, playing online, you'd run into the occasional teabagger or someone who would send you hate mail when you won, but that comes with any online PvP game, so try not to think about it too much. I promise 99% of your interactions with the FGC will be positive. And of course, if you decide to go to an offline event, such as a big tournament or your local tournaments, or even to a meetup or to someone's house to play some matches, I promise you are going to have a blast. I remember having someone come up to me at EVO 2024 and complimenting me on my Dragunov in Tekken 8, telling me how watching me taught him how to play the character in a way he didn't think was possible, which really made me feel good. I remember sitting with people and talking about tips and tricks to beating certain characters. I remember hearing the crowds erupting with cheers or boos when certain people or characters won. I remember walking around seeing everyone training for their tournaments or playing in them with crowds of people cheering them on. And seeing everyone in cosplays or with tattoos of fighting games and everyone's trying out new games. The offline community experience is truly something special. I couldn't be prouder of the fighting game community and the people who help make it so inviting and friendly. I promise that if you take some time to join the community and to learn these games, you will be welcomed with open arms and have such a blast that it'll change your life. So grab your peripheral of choice, boot up the coolest fighting game to you, and hit up your friends or the community, and let's start the journey. Because under the banner of pressing buttons and throwing hands, we're all friends. So, why should you learn and play fighting games? Well, the gameplay is very skill expressive and rewarding, and you'll always have new things to learn and skills you can improve on. The characters in fighting games are unmatched in their terms of creativity and their design. The stories are varied and compelling. And the community is unmatched in its passion for these games, its inclusiveness inside of this community, and its family mentality. So thank you so much for watching my video, it really means a lot to me. I love these games and this community so much, so I hope this video helps more people share that passion with me. If you did like this video, then let's hit that like button and comment down below with what we did like and what we can do better in the future. And of course, hit that subscribe and bell icon to see those future videos. I've been Draven Dio, your friendly neighborhood fighting game shill, and I'll see you next time. Peace, peace.
Just one thing I want to say. Fighting game is something so great.